And welcome to Go Time here on the Voice of College Football Network. I'm your host, Grant Sastray, host of the co-host of the uh, LSU at the Voice of College Football Network YouTube channel. And make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Just a quick click of the button of the subscribe button. It's free, and then also make sure to click on the bell for any notifications of any future videos, live shows, or anything like that. We're going to be trying to post as much content as me and Zach possibly can. And of course, there might be some other videos from other YouTube channels. For example, let's say Mark Rogers was our boss, who's the quote unquote voice of college football. Uh, let's say he interviews somebody that covers LSU. That will be posted to the YouTube channel as well. Once again, we're going to try to post as much content as possible can, especially throughout the summer, as we're starting to have a little bit more downtime. But anyway, let's get to the chase. And that is, does LSU have the best quarterback room in the country? Now, we've discussed Gary Nussmeier, the expectations for him this year. And of course, he arguably is the top quarterback returning in the SEC. Well, returning starter in the SEC next year. A lot of people will have him going into the first round of the NFL draft. And he also is considered a Heisman candidate, right? The last time the second-year quarterback at LSU, or second-year starter at LSU, the last two guys who have done that were Joe Burrow and Jane Daniels. They both won the Heisman. So if history is to repeat itself, why not have not Jane Daniels? Why not have Gary Nussmeier in that conversation, right? And if you look at his stats from last year, threw for over 4,000 yards, had 29 touchdowns compared to 12 interceptions. He had a great year last year, right? Even though he had some up and down moments. I mean, if you look at his year last year compared to Jane Daniels and Joe Burrow's first year, it's not even close. He had the best year out of the three, and those other two guys opposite of Gary Nussmeier are Pro Bowlers in the NFL. They're two of the best quarterbacks in the country in the NFL, and when they were in college, are two of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play college football, let alone at LSU. And PFF, they did their top 10 quarterback rooms in the country. And guess who they had at number one? Yep, you guessed it. LSU. And this is what they had to say about LSU's quarterback. The Tigers have a top 5 quarterback in the country and a legitimate Heisman candidate leading them in Garrett Nussmeier. He threw for the 5th most passing yards in the nation last year, 4,443, while tying for 7th in big-time throws, which was 26. Behind him is Mississippi State transfer Michael Van Buren, who showed encouraging signs during 8 starts in his true freshman season. His first 2 came on the road against a couple elite defenses, Texas and Georgia, and he responded with a 79.0 passing grade with 5 big-time throws and no turnover-worthy plays in those contests. LSU has a couple of former 4-star recruits in the room as well, and sophomore Juwan Johnson and redshirt freshman Colin Hurley. And LSU is above the likes of SMU, which I'm surprised that SMU is second. Just because, there's a lot of teams that have better quarterbacks than SMU. I'm not say Kevin James is a bad quarterback. Kevin James is a pretty good quarterback, but considering some of the quarterbacks coming back next year, surprising that SMU is top higher on the list. Arizona State's at number 3. Florida is at number 4. Clemson is at 5. By the way, LSU, we will be playing Clemson week 1 of the year, and we've already talked about Kate Klubnik coming back next year, and it may potentially be a matchup between 2 of the best quarterbacks in the country. At 6, you have Miami. That's because they brought in Carson Beck. They're at number 6. Penn State's at number 7. Of course, they had Drew Aller. Auburn's at 8. And Auburn's kind of shocking, just given the fact that Auburn has not been – if there's one weak spot on Auburn, it's definitely the quarterback spot. Let's just say that right there. Alabama's at number 9. Ohio State's at 10. And Texas is an honorable mention. Of course, we all know about Arch Manning in Texas. Some people even have Arch Manning in the top 10, but I hesitate to put Arch Manning in the top 10 or top 5 or top 3 in general, just because he has not played, right? He's played a couple of games here and there. He's made a couple of starts, but they're against, lesser opponents. And I don't want to put pressure on a kid who, so there's going to be pressure on him anyway. He's starting quarterback at Texas. And, of course, they've been a playoff contender for the last 2 years. They've been a national title contender for the last 2 years. But once again, like I said, he's only started 3 games. So, but anyway, going back to LSU, it's actually fairly reasonable to have LSU as the number 1 quarterback room, and that's not even with bias. I truly do think that. Look, we already know about Garrett Nussmeier. Already registered stats, threw for 4,000 yards. He had 29 touchdowns. He was tied for 7th among who knows how many quarterbacks at the FBS level, which is around 130 quarterbacks. And he was tied for 7th in big time throws, which was 26. And that stems from Garrett Nussmeier being a gunslinger, right? And if you look at, hold on, that's his weekly grades. I won't go to his stats. But yeah, Garrett Nussmeier had over, like I said, had over 4,000 yards. Let me pull up his stats real quick, and like he was highly effective. I know he had some up and down moments, but he was highly effective. Completed 64% of his passes. Had 4,502 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. And of course, you want his interception number to go down. But that kind of stems from him being a gunslinger. But I think over time, I think he'll be a much more mature quarterback. And look, he did show maturity last year. The problem is that I think LSU, I think he just needs to be. Look, he's mobile. He's a fairly mobile quarterback, and I think sometimes he underestimates how mobile he is. There's certain throws where he probably should have ran for like a few yards instead of trying to throw the ball down the field and forcing a throw. And sometimes that throw would be in dangerous areas of the field, sometimes leading to an interception. Very famous example of that is his first interception against A&M, which ended up being the game-changing play. And that's when A&M went on that tear. Like, it scored 31 unanswered points, something crazy like that. Not 31 points, but they scored a lot of points. I believe it was 28 unanswered points. It was the exact number, but I could be wrong. But it was around that general point total. But yeah, he had a great year last year. And if you look at his PFF grades, he had an 81.8 passing grade and an 84.5 offensive grade, which are both 8th among quarterbacks among returning starting quarterbacks who had over 300 passing attempts. And then and he was also, like I said, 3rd. He was 7th in big time throws last season. But among returning starting quarterbacks, he is 3rd. So he's in some elite. He's in the elite category in terms of quarterbacks around the country. Then you look over to Michael Van Buren. And if you want to know anything about Michael Van Buren, look, Michael Van Buren was kind of thrown in there. Michael Van Buren, the starting quarterback for Mississippi State, which was Blake Shapen last year, got hurt in the middle of the season. And Michael Van Buren was just kind of, he was just kind of thrown in there. I mean, he got his first official start. I believe it was like near the end of September. Blake Shapen got hurt in that Florida game, which they lost 45-28 on September 21st. And Michael Van Buren is like, okay, you got the reins now. You're the starting quarterback. And look, his stats may not pop out to you, right? But considering who he played for last year and what he did, I mean, he did all right. Like, there's not much you can do. 1,866 yards of passing, 11 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and he had a completion percentage of 54.7%, so around 55%. However, I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, he played for the worst team in the SEC last year. Mississippi State was actually the worst team in the SEC. That's just facts. Look at the standings. I mean, if you look at Mississippi State, they were 0-8 in SEC play and finished with a 2-10 record. He really didn't have much to work with, right? Especially when you're getting thrown in there in the middle of the season because the starting quarterback got hurt. He wasn't even supposed to be playing. He most likely, I think he was probably going to get a red shirt or something like that because he was not supposed to play. And he did okay. I mean, look, I already mentioned, if you look at some of his best games that season, he bowled out. I mean, he had 306 passing yards and 3 touchdowns against Georgia. He had 309 passing yards against Arkansas, which, by the way, they lost 58-25. 22 of 31 passing and did for 2 touchdowns. Against Ole Miss, he had 280 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Not a great game, but once again, like, he did all right. For a true freshman got thrown in there. And then on top of that, if you look at A&M, he also played pretty well. He played pretty well. 22 of 41, which is 53.7 completion percentage, but 242 yards and 3 touchdowns and just 1 interception. So he was thrown in a nearly impossible situation, and he played really well. Let me show you guys this to kind of show you what I'm talking about, because I thought it was already up on the screen. But yeah, I mean, look, he for what he had to work with, it's not that bad. Like, he had 2 games of 300 yards and he also played well against some quality competition, right? And then look, there's some games we had some duds, but I mean, he was a first-year starting quarterback as a freshman who was not supposed to be playing because the starter got hurt. And that is a great backup quarterback to have, who's got starting experience. He's already kind of been through the ups and downs. And look, there's a reason why LSU went after him. Like, Michael Van Buren could have stayed at Mississippi State and still been the strong quarterback. But there's a reason why he entered the transfer portal. It's not because he wasn't very good. It's because based off the year last year, people were interested in him because he had talent. He had the talent. And I want to show you this too. LSU likes to run a lot of RPOs. They like to run a lot of play action. And if you look at the PFF grades, screen 69.1 offensive grade and a 67.3 passing grade, 65 passing grade no screen, and 66.4 passing grade without a screen. Right? That's just in general, the short passes in general. But if you look at his play action, 80.2 passing grade and a 78 passing grade, that's actually pretty good. Right? And since LSU's as an offense that likes a lot of play action, it's good to know that he's really good in the play action pass, right? 80 and a 78 is actually a really good grade, passing grade, right? That means you're in a pretty good category, right? Elite's probably in the 90s, but being in the 80s, being at 80 and having a 78 passing grade is actually really good. Really, really good. And look, and maybe he needs to work on his non-play action passing plays, but for play action, that's good to know that he's very highly effective in play action passes because of LSU's propensity to use those type of play calls. Now let's look at Michael Van Buren's uh, depth patch grade. So this is how he rates among, in terms of passing depths, right? Behind the line of scrimmage, 67.1. It's A-okay. It's not great, but okay. That's actually surprised me that he had a 53.3 passing grade in short passes, 0 to 9 yards. That's really shocking. That's something he does need to improve on because that should be your best passes are usually between 0 and 9 yards. You have to improve on that, and I think he will. I mean, he completed 62.5% of his short passing grades, but again, passing grade, that doesn't look so great. But then look at this. An 85.7 medium passing grade. If you want reference, he had a better medium passing grade than Garrett Nussmeier, who had an 83.9 passing grade. So he actually was better at the medium passing game than Garrett Nussmeier was, who, by the way, completed 50.4% of his medium passes, which is between 10 to 19 yards. And then if you look at his deep passing grade, which is 20 yards or more, he has an 84.7 passing grade, which is also really good. He had 14 big-time throws. 14 big-time throws, which is actually pretty good as a freshman. And then also, if you look at his big-time throw percentage, 28.6%. That's actually higher than Garrett Nussmeier's 26.3%. And to get this, look at his average depth of target, right? This is 8D OT right here where the mouse is. He had a average depth target of 33.8, which is right here, where it starts right here. 33.8. If you want reference, that is tied for second among quarterbacks in 2024. That's actually really, really, really impressive. And when I saw that, actually kind of shocked me because you would think that maybe his struggles were in the short passing game, but he's actually highly effective in the deep, with this deep ball, which is actually pretty good. Like he actually had he actually was just as good as Gary Nussmeier was in terms of throwing the ball deep down the field. Nuss was a bit better, but Michael Van Buren is not afraid to take deep shots, which kind of tells me he's kind of in the same realm as Nussmeier, as Nuss. That he's not afraid to throw the ball deep down the field. And to be a quarterback, you have to be kind of fearless, right? Because not only are you going to get hit, you also have to throw the ball down the field where, guys are moving around and you might make a mistake here and there. But he's not afraid to make mistakes, although I'm going to say you shouldn't make mistakes. I mean, try to avoid making mistakes. But it shows you that he's kind of fearless, which is good. Because last year's backup quarterback, AJ Swan, was afraid to make mistakes. He never threw the ball down the field. He only threw to the running back on checkdowns. And that's why LSU probably had to give Nussmeier the good juice to get back on the field after he hurt his shoulder early in that game. And, of course, LSU ended up winning that game due to Nussmeier fighting through the pain and throwing for over 300 yards and leading LSU to a I think it was a 31-7 victory. 37-17 victory, 22-31 for 277 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's actually one of the better games he played all year. So it's great to see that not only you have one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but you actually may have one of the best backup quarterbacks in the country who is fully capable and also is still very young. He might be the successor to Garrett Nussmeier, for all we care. There's a reason why LSU brought him in. Not only could he be a solid option in case Nussmeier goes down, but he might be the successor, which isn't that's not. I'm not saying that for shock value. He might be the successor. For all we care. But anyway, that's gonna wrap it up today for Go Time here on the Voice of College Football Network. Once again, please like the video. If you did like the video, please like the video. Make sure to subscribe to LSU at the Voice of College Football down below. Just hit the subscribe button, and it's for free. You don't have to pay a single penny. And then also make sure to click on the bell to get the latest notifications on when we release a video. We have, we'll have a lot of content coming through here in the next couple of months because we have a little bit more downtime. It's the summertime, not much going on, and then also a little less than 2 months away, we have SEC Media Days, and of course in August, that's when football season officially starts. We have fall camp. Of course, the game against Clemson is on August 30th. So we're going to be producing a lot more content as much as we possibly can. And then also our live show tomorrow, once again, will be at 6 p.m. at Central Time and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Me and Zach Dunn do live shows every Monday. So make sure to go check that out. We're going to be talking a lot about baseball because postseason plays here. And we'll also discuss the latest happenings in LSU sports across the board. But anyway, you guys have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see y'all later.